Welcome back to ITWOBL. We are inside the world of box lacrosse with the final segment for this week, Humiliate the Hosts. And Adam Levy, you were less humiliated this past weekend because you went 2-3 in your picks, and I went 1-4, which is atrocious. But I thought I was going to have a bounce back. The week before, I went 0-3 on Friday night, but then I got everything on Saturday, every single game. But this week, it just, I don't even know what happened. I don't know what to blame. There's no excuses. I just did not pick the right winners. So
I think that we both been getting a little bit overthinking it a little bit. We're saying, well, I think that it's due for this, and I expect this to happen. I think that sometimes we just have to be like, okay, I think that this is my gut. This is how I'm feeling. Like, this makes sense. And so I'm going to start things off with that first game, Toronto and Halifax, and I'm just going to say Halifax. I feel like this is a pretty simple pick with the way that Jamie Dowick has shipped away a lot of his players, and especially the way that Halifax offense in transition is looking right now. When you don't have Mitch Desnew and Chris Corbeil there, and then not to have Nick Rose in net anymore. I would be absolutely shocked if Halifax does not win.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be shocked if they didn't win, but I definitely think Halifax is like, you never know. Troy Holochuk's a good goalie, but boy, he's jumping in after not playing a lot the last couple of years. It's a lot, and with that, like you said, without Desnew, without Corbeil, without all these guys, it's tough to figure Halifax doesn't win this the way they've been playing. I'll go with them.
Yeah, that Halifax team, they're running up and down. Tarafenko and Withers and Clark Peterson stepping up his game. They're just going to exhaust that Toronto defense, I imagine.
Yeah, we talked, it came up the transition player of the year briefly earlier, and I didn't mention Ryan Tarafenko, which is kind of negligent because he's been astonishing lately. Although he wouldn't get my vote because I don't think he doesn't have the cost turnovers. He doesn't have as much on the defensive side, I think, as Boudreau's been showing and Owen Grant, but he's got to be in that conversation. But I've got Halifax for sure.
Yeah.
So I will start the next one, Rochester at Las Vegas. And interesting because Vegas has Holden Cattoni now.
Mm-hmm.
And with him in the lineup the first game, they scored 5 goals. So how much did it help? Well, he had 2 goals and 1 assist in that game. So he was obviously a big part of it. I think they're going to score more than 5 this week. Bold prediction, I know. But I'm going to go with Rochester, though, for this game. I think Rochester's playing well. Hartley's looked terrific. I think, Matt Gilray could have been an underappreciated player because he's, again, all the themes coming up. He is also in the transition player of the year discussion. So I've got Rochester.
Yeah, I've got Rochester as well. It has been nice, as I've mentioned on the show, and I'm always going to give coach and GM Sean Williams credit. The moves that he's making, he is trying to make this team better. With Holden, there is this kind of outstanding issue of with the work that he does, out east, how that can affect his travel. How available is he going to be? Is he going to be available all the time? I think he's an incredible addition to that offense. Hammer Jackson, in that first game was quite good. And so nice that they're building pieces, and hopefully they can continue to build for the future. But Rochester really looks great right now. One of the top teams, definitely a playoff looking team right now. And I think they keep rolling.
Before we roll on to the next pick, I'm going to be the annoying pronunciation guy again and point out it's Tyrell Hammer Jackson, not Hammer Jackson. I know everyone calls him Hammer. It's his nickname. It seems perfect for him, but it is Hammer Jackson. I remember checking with him on that one. So,
and it also is missing the double M that would make it Hammer. So.
Exactly, it's 1 M. So,
right.
Yeah. So you get to pick first for Vancouver, San Diego.
I expect this to be arguably a contender for game of the week. A couple others there that I'm seeing that could fight for that as well. But, it feels like Vancouver, they've been so quiet. We haven't really been talking a lot about them. We haven't really been seeing them as much, having great breakout games. Oh, man,
I'm sorry, but one of my favorite parts is watching our pick graphics drifting back and forth. It's like a probability scale of what when they were saying it. Anyway, I'm sorry. You go ahead.
Man, this is I'm gonna say San Diego on this one. That's a tough one. This one's a toss up for me, but I'm just gonna say San Diego. I think it's gonna be a really good game. Very excited for what to expect there. But San Diego Pachanga has been having some great crowds. They're going to want to bounce back. Zach Courier will be back in the lineup, I presume. Obviously, his wife had their child the other week, so he'll be back in the lineup. I don't know what is the latest you've heard on Ryan Benesh.
I haven't actually heard, so I'm curious whether Courier stays up front because I'm not sure how long Benesh is going to be, and I think that's an interesting factor.
Yep.
I think my goodness, so a bunch of people having babies lately. It feels like, I mean, Frank Soriano, there've been others. I got a text from Roger Courier, Zach and Josh's dad. He's our realtor, and a friend of ours, and he sent me a text with a picture of the baby. And I was just like, holy cow, that's a perfect baby. I mean, babies are cute, right? But and again, another bold take. But it's just so cool to see for those guys. And I am going to rain on that parade a little bit. I think because I think I'm going to go Vancouver just because I feel like they've got a big game coming. I think they're going to kind of put everything together. I think Aiden Walsh continues to play well. I feel like they've got something, and Kurt Malosky keeps battling. What keeps them battling, and I just feel like they've got a game they're going to put together and play really well.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's been such a rough stretch for them. I mean, their two wins are against the Black Bears, who have not been as advertised, and then against the Desert Dogs, who again have not been as advertised. And other than that, if you look at their last 7 games, they're 5-2. It really feels like things just haven't been working the way that we all expect them to. But anytime you have a team coached by Kurt Malosky, one of the great minds in this league, who, by the way, also, if we look back at that 2019 Calgary Roughnecks team when they had started slow and then had a hot stretch down the very end and then into the postseason to end up winning the NLL Cup. He's shown that he can do that. He can get his team ready for the moment. So it would not surprise me in the least if Vancouver, and also, by the way, these teams do not like each other. There have always been physical, very aggressive games. And so that throws in a whole new wrinkle of what to expect because, when you don't like each other, when you've got that extra fuel and you've got that physicality, anything can really happen.
And I'll just repeat that the top 6 teams in the standings are all, well, the top 5 are all positive goal differentials. Calgary is even at 6. And then everybody else in the league is a negative, except for Vancouver sitting in 10th. But in that 4-way tie for 8th, they're a +4. I know they've got a 1-game losing streak. I just feel like they've got more that we're going to see from them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Beautiful.
It is interesting. You look at their wins and, 3 4-goal wins. So when they are winning, not close games. So that definitely helps them there. But yeah, I mean, Vancouver needs this win more than San Diego needs this win. And does that motivate them as well?
They're tied at 5 and 6.
Yeah, but I think that
I guess you're talking about momentum and things, but
momentum is mainly what I'm looking at.
Yeah. Okay, well, speaking of needing wins versus not needing wins, I would say Calgary needs this one as they hit into Buffalo. I think Calgary has a great chance to come in and really compete here. They've got that offense. They've got their defense is playing well. Nick Rose. This is one of the reasons they went and got him, right, is to play Buffalo twice down the stretch of the season. But as the graphic indicates, I just think it's going over towards Buffalo because I think Saskatchewan played really well against Buffalo. They were missing Robert Church, but played really well, and Buffalo still beat them. They can beat teams anyway. I'm going with the Bandits to not lose again this week.
Yeah, I'm going with Buffalo as well. I mean, this is Nick Rose's 3rd matchup against the Bandits this season, and then he'll face them a 4th time very, very soon as well. Is that the next week or the week after?
I think it's 2 weeks after.
Yeah. So, that helps Nick Rose out, I think, potentially, but could also maybe help the Bandits because they have his number and they've figured him out. So I'm gonna go the Bandits. I said in a tweet recently, I think that we're gonna look back at this Bandits team realistically and say they're one of the greatest NLL teams that we've ever seen when it's all said and done. But Calgary, can they get that first win with Nick Rose and make things work?
Yeah. And because there's the saying, these are the good old days. These are the good days. It's something that apparently is shown to help you boost your happiness. Say, these are the good days. Just repeat it to yourself, because you got to live in the moment and enjoy. But I think that makes sense. We may be looking back at this Buffalo team, but we just don't know. We might be looking back and saying that's one of the best teams ever. It feels like it, but I mean, they could lose 4 or 5 games down the stretch and flame out in the first round of the playoffs. Who knows? I don't think so. It seems unlikely. I don't even know what my point was there, but there was the one tweet that Graham Parrow put out. Somebody was asking, has anybody ever lost, any goalie ever lost 4 games to a team in one season? And Aaron Bold did when he was with, it was Edmonton before the Saskatchewan to Calgary, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that, but I will say what you were getting at was just that we really need to enjoy watching Buffalo for what it is while we have the chance to watch them, because we don't always, we look back at it, and as somebody who I only, do the video side of it, clipping highlights, you realize how special that defensive unit is. Like when they let somebody in, Matt Benn steps up once in a while, but that whole system and the way they play is really different. And the offense, who are you going to stop? I mean, you can't lock one of those guys out. They're all so talented. So I think that's what you were getting at.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and even the year that they didn't win the title in 2022 when they lost to Colorado, I mean, they were one of the best teams, arguably the best team in the league at that point as well. I mean, we haven't really seen a dominant stretch like this in NLL history. Even, I was looking back at the three-peat by the Rochester Nighthawks in the early 2010s, and yes, they ended up a couple times having very good playoff runs, but even had I believe they were 7-9 one year. I think
and 8 the other.
Yeah. So, the consistent winning and success that this team has had in the post-COVID era in particular has been unbelievable.
Yeah, no, they've been terrific throughout, right? Yeah. So, and we go on to the next game, Albany and Philadelphia, and very different situations for some of these teams. I mean, Albany, 3-9. They've had a tough year. Maybe we should have seen that coming a bit more, that they'd regress. You normally do when a team improves a huge amount in one year. They normally regress back towards the mean the next year, but I really thought they're going to be able to keep it rolling, but it hasn't gone great. Philadelphia, meanwhile, has lost 4 in a row. How's Philly going to do? They've got Desnew and Corbeil in. I think that's going to help, but we saw Nick Rose in his first game with Calgary, didn't get the win, even though he played pretty well. How quickly do they have the impact? Obviously, the Wings want it to work right away. I don't know. I feel like I'm being bullied into picking Albany here, but that's the way I'm leaning. It's hard to imagine that Philly team losing 5 in a row, but right now, I will go. I'll succumb. I'll go with the peer pressure and go to Albany.
I am going to go the opposite way with this one. I think that, it's interesting that you brought up the Nick Rose situation, because Nick Rose, obviously the goaltender comes in and that's important, but no changes defensively in front of him. Nick Demude, very capable, very talented goaltender, now has 2 veteran, very good pieces that can help. Oh, and we forgot about Shane Simpson as well. Who can help move things forward. And, if you think about the prospect, not to hype Brennan up anymore, or we talked about Phil Caputo earlier, but, if you're talking about guys that can help Brennan and that offense get more opportunities and have Nick Demude feel more comfortable in between the pipes, I think that you've got all the pieces to make that happen. Also, a good home game. I'm going to expect a good crowd for this game. Especially Philly fans probably still riding that high of a Super Bowl championship. So give me the Philadelphia Wings on this one. I think that they've done a fantastic job ahead of this trade deadline, and I think that those moves are going to help them get into the postseason.
If I wasn't so jaded by my earlier flops, I might flop again, but I'm going to stick with Albany for this one. I think they're due, and Philly's due too. They're both due, so I'll just move on.
If everything goes according to plan, I am expecting to be at this game as well. How
have the Wings done when you were there?
What was that?
How have the Wings done when you're there? What's their record with
Oh,
Levy Nugget in attendance?
overall, it's very bad. Actually, I think Mitch Jones had asked me that once, and the last time they lost when Preston, Nikki, and I were there, I think they're realistically or something like 2-9 when I'm in
Okay,
attendance.
I feel so much better.
And I can say,
now.
Adam, every time he shows up to the Firewolves, it doesn't really go the way we want it to either. So maybe it's Adam. That's the problem with the Firewolves this season is Adam. So
this season, but last season I brought all the
Yes.
good luck.
There
We'll
you go.
we'll always cherry pick when we can. I
Okay.
can understand that.
I just felt a need for justification. We're going to our last game, and this is the other one, I think, for game of the weekend is Saskatchewan, Georgia, and you can go first.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
sounds so magnanimous, right? You can go first.
I have to say that I'm just going to be consistent here. I mean, we've been talking a lot about Georgia and how good they are. Brett Dobson playing some of the best he's played in the NLL right now. He's looking great. But I'm going to go Saskatchewan. I'm not going to get tempted by that moving, floating A there. And I'm going to say that Saskatchewan, yeah, they got a loss last weekend, but I think we pointed out enough that, had that been any other team other than Buffalo last weekend, Saskatchewan would have won. They've been playing like that all year. They've been so good, so consistent. I've been incredibly impressed with them. Give me Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan. Why? I don't know why.
No.
Talk about a mispronunciation.
You're even wearing the green. Holy cow. It's interesting. I picked when when Toronto was playing Georgia, and they'd had that big game against San Diego and stuff, and they'd had their one big win, their comebacks, or whatever. And it's like, it's sometimes it's hard not to have a bit of a letdown after a big weekend. And I picked Georgia and see a bit of the same here, but Saskatchewan losing that game to Buffalo, it can be, it was such a big hyped up game. You can have the same kind of hangover effect, but Georgia basically ended Toronto's season in many ways, right? When they won.
Yeah. I mean,
recently,
yeah, I think you can actually say that now because that is what led to the fire sale.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
So I lean towards the Swarm. I think the Swarm are really good, but I've got to go Saskatchewan. They're playing so well, and I think they really want to come and bounce back after last week. And now the one thing, what I would like is to know if Robert Church is going to be back. If Robert Church is back, I'm definitely going to take Saskatchewan. If he's not, then maybe we revisit these and we can change them. What can we say that? Can we say when we check the injury report for the weekend, if Church is out, that we switch? No, we have to. I can see the no in your face.
Yeah, I think we got to stick with it.
Okay, fine. Rush.
I've wrote about it in my 3 Up, 3 Down. It'd be great to get more injury information, and maybe one day we'll get more consistent updates from teams. But yeah, I also think that it just complicates things for picks because sometimes it can be an hour, 2, 3 hours before the games that we find that out. And I will just say, just because we brought that up just as a quick little tangent, that I know that other leagues, they do their final injury reports at similar timelines, but they're, and so not necessarily that it is an NLL specific thing, but more consistent updates would be great.
So how many do we pick differently here? Not many, right?
No.
2 games?
Two, yeah.
So when Albany and Vancouver come through, I will extend my margin because I'm only a game ahead of you at this point. So I need to get back. I don't know why I would have any confidence in my picks this week after I went 1-4, but I feel good.
I just want to throw in there, though. So you talk about the injury report. How about your preseason pick, though? Because the team that you picked, which most of us were in agreement was going to do way better than they are, ended up with a fire sale. So, yeah, I don't know if there is a good way to do it because I've thought that several times on Friday as you're going through the transactions in the news and all of a sudden you're like, I lost that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if we had really, we didn't really know the extent and how the injuries were going to affect that Toronto Rock team. And it really, it's rough. And good on Jamie, too, that, I know that he is trying to pick up some pieces, but, I feel like definitely really betting on himself and saying these guys are going to be unrestricted free agents who can reject the franchise tag at the end of the year. How many of these guys can I get back? Or is he really just saying it's time to change? It'll be interesting to see that. But I know that, Nick Rose has so much love for that team, as I'm sure a lot of those guys do.
And I mean, you're saying betting on himself as a GM and as an evaluator of talent, because they've got 3 first-round picks in this year's draft. They've got 1 next year. Interestingly enough, not their own. They've got Calgary's, but then they do have some others. They've still got their picks for 27. Haven't seen a lot of picks moving there, but Toronto does have 2 second-rounders in the 2026 draft. So
Right.
that's a good point. He's betting on himself to be able to bring those guys back, but also get picks. Make good use of the picks that he's gotten for them. So it's a win-win in that case.
And I would also add, just as an owner as well, I mean, it's the experience, like, having a house for the guys to stay in, having the facility, like the track for guys to train in, get medical help and things like that. He's saying, look at the organization and the franchise that I've built and what you can get with that. On top of, what it means to be near a major metropolis in Toronto. So,
and midweek practices are huge that they can practice at the track. The guys are mostly near enough that they can get into practice. That makes a big difference. You'll hear coaches talk about that all the time. They wish they could have practice during the middle of the week.
Yeah.
One day when it's a full-time league.
Well, you are seeing a ton of guys, not a ton necessarily, but there's definitely a growing movement from players to be living in market. I know that the Desert Dogs have a handful of guys. Buffalo, obviously, one of the top teams that has so many guys living in market. Well, you got something?
Sorry, yeah, it just made me think of, you said that, and Deacon Knott is living in market in Philadelphia, right? The backup goalie in Philadelphia. And we should throw in, like, maybe we can superimpose for the Knott live show. Talk about Deacon Knott making the fancy pass, and we were saying he threw it from center with the goalie stick. He's at the far 3-point line. He's beyond center. He's in Caitlin Clark territory.
And also, I mean, I've spoken to Deacon a handful of times, but how nonchalant is he after? He's just like, yeah, that's what I do. Like, I mean, to do that with a basketball in a lacrosse stick is unbelievable. Awesome that the Lacrosse Network picked that up and shared that out. And it's amazing that it's getting as much love as it is, although it is a well-deserved love. And also, huge partnership there with the Harlem Globetrotters and the Philadelphia Wings. The Wings have been doing some really good promotional work, as well as some of the other teams out there in the NLL. It really does seem like there's a lot of positive marketing going on, especially in these bigger markets. We talked about guys living in market and how beneficial that is, and it's for these events like this. I mean, it really just worked out perfectly.
It did.
Yeah, they actually brought a whole bus up to the Firewolves game. There was probably 60, 70 people, a couple birthday girls, fairly intoxicated. We got to talk to a couple of them. It was pretty funny. They were as entertaining as the game started to slip away as they were going around. But no, that was really impressive the way. I love seeing the buses of people come, because that's just the commitment to the team. Unfortunately, Philly didn't play great that game, but no, it was impressive to see the bus full of people there. I was excited.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a difficult travel to get up there from Philadelphia or the New York area. So, it'd be nice if people from Connecticut or other places in and around New York and northern Pennsylvania, if you guys, want to see more box lacrosse, go up to Albany, check those games out. You got some incredible talent up there as well.
Are we still recording? I was kind of chilling. Deacon Knott going out, some of the guys going out with the Harlem Globetrotters when they were in Philly, and Deacon Knott making a shot with the basketball in his goalie stick from center. Nothing but net. Just made it look so easy. It was great. That was pretty fun to see Deacon Knott out there with them.
Yeah, he, Sam LeClaire, and Mitch Jones, I believe, all live together. Oh, and Brennan as well. But Brennan, I don't think, is living there anymore. I think he's now.
Really? They kicked him out, eh?
Well, I think his plan was, unless things have changed, I know his plan was to either kind of be between New York and North Carolina doing stuff with Duke, but that might have changed by now. But has definitely loved living in Philadelphia.
That's not very exciting. Let's say that there was a rift in the Philly Wings house. No, there wasn't. Okay, that's going to do it. That's the show for this week. And I think it was fun. It's great to have you back, Adam. And I know you weren't gone from the show, but you were gone. It was weird not talking to you all weekend.
Yeah, it was
like 3 or 4 days where we just didn't even talk. Well, okay, 2 days. where we didn't talk.
Yeah, it was it's good to be back and right in time. You know, these next 2 months and then including the playoffs into May. Very excited. I always get excited because my birthday's in May as well, so I get excited about being another year older. And then watching some amazing NLL action. So I cannot wait for this March to May.
Yeah, I don't really get that excited about being another year older anymore. But
I always feel another year wiser, and I feel like
Yeah.
this year there has been a lot of wisdom that has been imparted in me. So
Yeah.
very, very happy about that.
Oh yeah,
Excellent.
he totally did too.
Yeah, can't wait for next week. We're going to do draft coverage as far as how that's going and kind of go from there. And what else as far as doing all the picks and stuff has been great, but the NLL sixes, looking back at it now,
Yeah.
how do you guys feel that? I thought that was a blast. I mean, Charity didn't even really understand it till this week when I explained, no, they're not playing box lacrosse. They're playing a different style, which is why Dobson.
Yeah.
So looking back at it from the beginning, not to keep this too much longer, but would you have changed the way you drafted?
First of all, I'd like to say it's funny seeing people commenting on the story and the video and that, and people are like, "Oh no, people are saying, oh, what's your like? Do you like box or field to this?" And I'm like, well, it's not really sixes isn't really box or field. It's a hybrid. It's more box than field. But people say, "Oh, I like box more. I like field more." Well, that's kind of irrelevant. But I think I personally anticipated more of a run on goalies myself, and so I took Brett Dobson first overall. I what I wish I'd done honestly is when the names were drawn and I came out with the first pick, I wish I'd said, because everyone was like, "Oh, come on, how do you get the first pick?" Because my wife was drawing the names, but I wish I'd said, I am willing to listen to offers to change positions with someone in exchange for just flipping later in the draft. I want to, I'll take the third or fourth pick, because I feel like 3 and 4 were the sweet spots with the snaking draft. So I kind of wish I'd done that. If I'd stuck with the first pick, I don't know if I would have taken a goalie. I think maybe Brett Dobson's the MVP of our imaginary tournament, because he's like the guy, right? In field lacrosse, in those field lacrosse nets. But it's hard to look at it and not have Zach Currier, Jeff Teat, Dean Smith, or Josh Burke.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that is and I think Dan Arestia brought it up. It's like, look at the draft and look at where Jeff Teat and Dane Smith, or Jeff Teat, went in that draft. Yeah. Silly of I think the two of us to overlook Jeff, or at least I will say it was.
I
didn't
get a chance. After.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I wish that I had taken Jeff. That was a mistake. And so Jeff, if you're out there, you can join the team anytime.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having Jeff Teat on my team. I think my team would be the best defensive team. I think we'd be the ones keeping teams under 20. Yeah. I feel like maybe we'd score enough. I don't know. I think it'd just be fun to see that actually play out. And I reiterate my call, like, NLL, let's do this. Yeah. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, 100%. So hopefully this moves the needle in the right direction, and enough of that positive talk from the Four Nations Cup as well. It just seems like a formula for success.
Maybe not 3 fights in the first 9 seconds of any of our games.
Well, I don't know. That would get a lot of clips.
Yeah, I don't hate the idea. I just think in sixes, I'm pretty sure you get kicked out of the tournament if you fight. So it would make for some pretty short rosters.
Yeah. So
plus we're not going to have the national thing going on, right? Because every team was going to have Canadians, Americans, Haudenosaunee.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they start fighting each other.
Maybe. Hey, I've seen plenty of guys who are teammates in one league fight each other in another league.
Yeah. Well, that is going to do it for this episode of Inside the World of Box Lacrosse. Adam Levy, Stephen Stamp, Greg Beecher. We will see you guys next week for another awesome episode. This one one's going to be trade deadline focused. So you want to stick to all NLL related stuff. Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern, as Stamper said, is the trade deadline. So you're not going to want to miss all the action going down this weekend and Monday, and we will talk to you next week.
Thanks so much, everybody, for watching. We appreciate all the support and that you're still watching. If you'd like to watch the full video, click the in-video link, and if you'd like to consider joining our channel membership, we would appreciate it. It's like buying us a beer or coffee every month. Thanks.